Welcome to Tapped In with Tony. I'm your host, Tony Bogan, and joining me is a singer-songwriter from Ravenna, Kendall Chalkwater. Thank you for joining me, Kendall.
Of course.
You performed recently at Ravenna Rocks. You performed a few songs that you created. It was great getting to see. You listened to the end of the song. I haven't even met him yet. You did a really great job, by the way.
Thank you.
And my first question I wanted to ask you is, how did you get involved in music?
Oh my. I would say I grew up pretty much in like a pretty musical family, but it wasn't until it was like I think I was 9. On my ninth birthday, I like asked my dad for a guitar. He got me one. And then he was like, "Okay, now what?" And I was like, "I guess I should do lessons." So I started playing guitar at like 9. I did lessons for about 3 years. Um, and then I did a little bit of piano in there as well, but I stopped lessons when I was, like, 12. I basically would, like, go in and learn, like, all my favorite songs. That's kinda how I learned, like, chords and all that stuff, but that's kind of how I started was just by playing guitar and piano and just playing, like, covers of my favorite songs. And it wasn't until I think I was around 15 or 16 I started like really like sitting down and trying to like write real songs. I wrote my first song when I was 11, but it's like I like to pretend it didn't happen because it was not good. It was not good. But yeah, that's kind of how I got started. I just did lessons and I was involved in like my school choir in middle school and high school, so that also helped.
Great. And who are some of your biggest musical influences?
I would say, oh gosh, growing up it was like all over the place. I definitely grew up like listening to country music, but I also listened to like a bunch of pop music, rock, like it was everything. I'd say now, um, my musical inspirations are definitely, um, oh gosh, Zach Bryan. I like Tyler Childers. I listen to a lot of Morgan Wallen. There's a newer artist I really love named Megan Moroney. A lot of country artists. And then it's fun also because I feel like a lot of the artists that I love, they're also different, but also the same in the same way. Um, but yeah, I look up to a lot of different artists for like different things, whether that's like their voice and like how they sound or their songwriting or whatever it is.
Great. And speaking of songwriting, talk to me about your first song. I believe I ain't even met him yet. Is the first song you wrote?
Yeah, I wrote that song when I was 16, so, like, 2 years ago now, which is crazy, but I wrote that just about a dream I had, like, it every song I write is very different, and I like to think that they all happen very organically, but, like, in their own way, so that one, it literally was just about a dream I had, and I was like, "Man, that's insane," and I remembered all of it, so the next day, I, like, wrote all of it down in my notes app, and that's kind of how I wrote that song. I One of like my favorite things to do is to post like the songs I write, like the night I write them or like the next day on my social media, so like Instagram or TikTok, because then I can see like if my friends like it or if they're like Kendall, no, that one's not good. But I like seeing what people think about it, and then I didn't even know that it was going to be the first song I recorded because I had been writing a bunch of other songs before I even wrote that one. But yeah, I got to record that one for like my 16th like birthday. We like went to a studio near Cleveland, and that was like my first ever like studio experience, and it was awesome. I didn't even know that that is what that song was going to be for me. So, I'm really grateful for it because I it was my first song ever that I got to like put out. I mean, it was kind of crazy when I did put it out and it was like actually on like music platforms where my like friends could listen to it. They were kind of like, "Wait, I didn't know that you could like do that kind of stuff." So, yeah, I'm very grateful for that one.
How exciting was that to have that song be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and
Yeah.
eventually go into performing it?
Yeah, it was really exciting because I mean, I write these songs like in my bedroom all by myself. I never think that they're going to be like out and about in the world. And so when I first like put it out, I remember like I did like a live stream the night that it came out, and it was so cool seeing like all the people that I went to school with that I wasn't even like kind of like close friends with, but like they obviously knew about it because I had been posting about it. They were like, "Wait, this is like really cool," because you could just look up my name on Spotify and it would pop up with my song. It was really exciting, I remember. And I was like, "This is definitely something I want to keep doing." Um, and I did. So yeah, and then performing it live is like a completely other thing because I remember the first time I did, like I remember one of the first couple times I performed it live. Um, my friends obviously they always try to come out and like support me because also they're like my comfort because if I'm like performing in a place that I've never been, it's like, well, at least I have them in the crowd. And they'll always sing along. But I remember the crowd was like singing along to it, and I was like, that's crazy because that's my song, and they're like singing along to it. So it's always really exciting. Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember I was driving back from a basketball game I was covering up at Rutztown, and I
Mhm.
was like, I heard that song live. It was amazing just seeing all those people singing along to the song you made.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Talk about your next song, Seasons. How did what inspired that?
So that one was I put that out a couple months after Ain't Even Met Him Yet. Like I said, when I first put out my first song, I kind of knew that I wanted to keep doing it, keep going in any way that I could. So it's so interesting. The day after I recorded Ain't Even Met Him Yet, I always get so like inspired when I'm like I go and do things like that. Like it's obviously very cool to experience. So I always get super inspired. So I wrote Seasons the day after I recorded Ain't Even Met Him Yet, also not even thinking that it was one that I wanted to record. And I went and I played it for my mom, and she was like, man, that one's really catchy. I think that one should be like your next one that you really kind of focus on. I was like, really? Because like I said, I had other songs that I had like in my list of songs I had written, and I didn't even think anything would come of Seasons because it had been so new. But I also got to record that one in the same place I recorded Ain't Even Met Him Yet. And I also got to work with like my best friend's dad is a insane guitar player. So I like asked him if he wanted to play on the song too. So like if you really listen closely, you can like hear like the electric guitar, that's him. It was really cool having like other people on the song instrumentally because for the most part, Ain't Even Met Him Yet is it's a like pretty acoustic song, but it's like everything, all the instruments on it was me. Like I was playing the guitar on it and the piano and all that stuff. So yeah,
That's really awesome. That's two songs down. And what's been your favorite part about writing the music that you've been able to up to this point?
I'd say the best part is kind of I mean, it's crazy now that I can say it's been like the 2-year mark since I at least started putting out music, like, out into the world. I'd say the best part is, like, seeing the growth because obviously songwriting is it's a craft is what people say, like, it evolves with you. I always like writing about, like, certain experiences, like real life, like things that happened to me or like things that I might feel. So all the songs are like pretty personal, but they also can just like be fun. So the best part is like seeing the growth because when I like the songs I wrote when I was 16, I wouldn't say they're like bad, but they're like I'd say they're very different from the songs I write now, but like in a good way because you can see like the growth and like oh I would have never thought about adding that line or thinking of that line when I was like 16. So just like knowing that you're only like the more you keep doing it, the more you're only going to get better.
Yeah.
So,
Repetition is key. It's kind of like no matter what you do, whether you're singing or whether you're doing paintings or whether you're shooting video, there's
yeah.
art to be had and there's
Mhm.
also growth. Like nobody starts off getting like being top of the line the first day. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of mistakes. You got to test
Exactly.
everything. You got to fail.
Yeah.
And what is talk to me about the support that you've gotten from the Ravenna community throughout your career.
It's been awesome. Okay, so it's kind of it was scary for me at first because I mean, I was at the end of my like sophomore year in high school when I kind of started doing all that like stuff where I was like kind of showcasing my original music. Like I had been like I always posted like covers of myself singing because I've just always loved singing, and I had like the support of my friends with that. But um, cut to like spring. I remember I forgot that this happened, but like spring of my sophomore year, my choir teacher, since I had put out that song and I had such good feedback, she invited me to sing at our choir concert, like my song. So there was like a little section, and I got to sing "Any Minute Yet" live for like all the parents and stuff. So that was like the beginning, and then now I've been able to do not one but two Ravenna Rocks. Like that's like insane. Um, and I'm so grateful I get to like be involved in the community in that type of way because I already kind of was involved with like my school and like things I did obviously like with cheer and all that stuff like school events, but having like this on the side but also feeling like I'm still doing things for my community and they like it and they'll like tolerate me singing for them. That's just been awesome. Yeah, I'm really grateful that there's been such a good feedback.
That's amazing. And as someone who has lived in Ravenna less than a year, I definitely see that support, and especially with the success of the basketball team, the fans turn out for football quite a bit. You can't
Mhm.
go wrong with the blue turf. One of
Yep.
the fields in the county. Just
Yeah.
gonna say that. And you recently released another pair of songs called Hurricane and Highway Drive.
Mhm.
What went into the process of those? Because after you had two songs that you released, it was a little bit before you did the next two.
It was, yeah. Um, this is always so fun talking about my newer ones because I wrote Hurricane and Highway Drive also, like, 2 years ago, but they were always songs I had in my back pocket because they're both, like, very upbeat and, like, fun songs, and, I knew I wanted to record Highway Drive someday because that song is, like, really special to me because it kind of is about like my dream of like music and like pursuing music and all that stuff. It's about like what I want to do. Whereas Hurricane, I remember I would always post it and like play it. And my friends were like, that one is so catchy. You have to record that one. So, long story short, my dream had always been to record in Nashville. Hopefully, I'll get to be there one day. But my mom and I had been doing a bunch of research as for like studios down there because you can go and like record your music down there. And we had been looking for a while, but I didn't think that it would ever happen. And then it was again like kind of like to celebrate my 18th birthday. I actually got to go up in Nashville in February and record two songs, and I chose Hurricane and Highway Drive, and it was something I'll never forget. It was so cool. I got to work with like 12, I think, 10 or 12 like professional session musicians, and all the people I worked with were really one supportive, but also like because that's their job, but also so kind and involved. Like you could tell that they loved what they were doing. Um, and also it was so cool to just sit back and watch them like within an hour basically create my song. Like I
Wow.
had the idea of like how I wanted it to sound in my head for years and then they just created it and it was insane. So one thing I like is that you can really hear like the difference between these most recent two and like my first two. You can really hear the difference especially in like production, but um yeah, those are my two most recent songs and they're also so fun to play live because I feel like they show such an improvement in my music.
That's amazing. And while we're on the topic of Nashville, I had a recent interview with the Palais Boys, a rock band who
Yeah,
was Northeast Ohio based, but they're going to be moving to Nashville. I've heard Nashville's a really awesome city from multiple people.
yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I've been twice now. I went the first time I went, it was for a concert, but I still was like I mean, I was like, "Oh my gosh," I was like starry-eyed. And then the second time I went to go up there knowing I was recording music, like that was just insane for me. So the atmosphere down there is definitely I mean, there's music everywhere you go. So that's like one of my favorite parts about it.
They don't call it the Music City for nothing.
This is true. True.
Do you draw inspiration from the concerts that you've gone to in the past? Have you see something that you want to emulate down the line?
Oh, yeah. So, I am, like, an avid concert goer. I love concerts, it's, like, my favorite thing, not only because it's so als like, it's always so cool seeing, like, my favorite artists in person, um, but just to listen to the music live is so different than just listening to it, like, in the car, like, on your phone, which a lot of people don't like, a lot of people aren't, like, big fans of concerts, but, I mean, I've always loved them. I think last summer I went to, like, over 10. Like, it was insane. So I definitely when I go, I try to pick up on things that I'm like, "Man, I really look up to them for that." But, also, like, picking up things like at Ravenna Rocks, how I kinda, like, learned how to introduce each song and talk between songs because I mean, it was pretty much an acoustic set, it was just me up there, I didn't have a band, so you kinda have to, like, talk through it in between songs. I learned that, but also, um, when it comes to, like, venues, like, there's places that I've been I obviously, like, a lot of the concerts I go to are, like, Cleveland, because that's where a lot of artists come here in Ohio. It I've been able to go to so many venues where I'm like, "Man, I know it sounds crazy, but it'd be so cool, like, bucket list to, like, play here one day." Um, so just the thought of that, kind of just being hopeful, but also getting inspiration, at the same time.
Right. That's really awesome to hear because you got a lot of young content creators, whether it be with content or music, just going out there and doing it. And
Mhm.
that's really great to see. And I definitely wish you the best in all of that, Kendall.
Thank you.
Not a problem. What are your plans for the future as far as it pertains to music? Do you have any EPs in the works or any full albums down the line?
Yeah, it's insane the amount of songs that I like, in my notes app that I have, that I've yet to record. There are definitely certain ones that I, like, play in my room like every week and I'm like, "Oh gosh, I just need to record that one. I just wanna hear it back and not just, like, play it all the time." So there's so many songs I have yet to record that I want to record. I am looking towards making, an EP, like a collection of songs. Because so far I've done, a couple singles, and then this one like, this last release was different. It was like a double release with 2 songs. I'm hoping to do, kinda like a project, whether that be an EP. Maybe I might have, like, too many songs to do an EP, or I'll have to narrow it down, but, that's definitely in the works. I'm hoping to record here soon, um, and, yeah.
That's awesome. And are you gonna plan on doing any collaborations or gonna go to the studio and like record and stuff like that?
Um, I'd be open to it. I also been reached out to, like, other artists asking if we like, to write together, so that's also something I would love to do, whether it's, like, collaborations with songwriting or collaborations in general. I think it'd actually be really cool to do a collaboration with somebody, but I have to meet people around here that are doing the same thing as I am, you know?
Absolutely. And I've got one fun question that I'd actually like to ask you. Would you rather wave the green flag for the Daytona 500 or throw out the first pitch for a World Series game?
Definitely wave the green flag.
Gotcha. Because I
Yep.
know with NASCAR and country are very symbolic with one another.
Yeah, I've seen so many videos of yeah, I would totally.
Yep, and you've got Sheryl Crow doing the song Steve McQueen. You've got Darius Rucker and Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yeah,
Guys like Kid Rock, Morgan Wallen, and various other names, Trace Adkins, and so on and so forth.
yeah,
Yep. And Kendall, I want to thank you for coming on and doing an interview today. And
of
where can
course.
people find your one? Where can people find your work? And two, if you have any advice for any inspiring any creators, songwriters, etc., the floor is yours.
Yeah, so everything is just my name, Kendall Chalkwater. You can listen to my music on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Pandora, YouTube, Amazon Music, basically any music platform. I post a lot on my Instagram and my TikTok. It's also just Kendall Chalkwater. A lot of music stuff, covers, original songs I write. That's kind of the first place I like to post them. So, um, yeah. And then as far as like advice, I would say don't be afraid to one, be vulnerable, but also, this sounds funny, but like dramatic. I'd say vulnerable because it takes a lot to kind of write what you're feeling in a song, or if it's not songwriting, like if you're acting or if you're doing anything else, like it it's hard because you might not want to be so personal, keep that to like yourself. But I've learned that some of the stuff that is most vulnerable, people like relate to the most. Like, for example, I wrote a song a couple months ago and I went and I played it for my mom because I was so excited about it. I was like, I love this song. Listen to it. I just wrote it. And she was like, it's a good one, but I don't know how many people will relate to that. And then cut to like a week later, I had posted it on my TikTok. And I think now it has like over 70,000 views. And all the comments are like, I relate to this one so much. This one hit too close to home. You need to release this one. So it's always so cool, and kind of like rewarding to like see that people also relate to the stuff that you might be feeling. So it's okay to be vulnerable, especially in songwriting and like the whole music thing. But then also, I say, this is kind of funny, but I say like don't be afraid to be dramatic because like some of the most fun songs are like a little dramatic. So yeah, that's definitely what I would say.
Awesome. And never underestimate the impact you can have on not just your community, but for people that are listening too, because
Yeah,
yeah, you could listen. Music is definitely something that can change the world in a way.
I agree. Yep.
Thank you for coming on the show. You guys can follow Tapped In with Tony on Spotify and all streaming services. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel.